Hi, this is Kim Spudik with 10 Sigma, where we provide educators with tools and resources to guide students to make a successful transition to adult life. Welcome to episode 132 of Transition Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about how to teach students to ask better questions. Right now I'm going to switch over to a short slide presentation to share this information. Transition Tuesday, episode 132. Teaching students to ask better questions. In today's video, we will be discussing the importance of teaching students to ask better questions and how this relates to transition and life skills, and then some strategies to help teach students to ask better questions. According to ASCD, students' ability to function as adults in an increasingly complex world depends on their capacity to ask questions and seek answers related to their values and goals. A robust questioning repertoire feeds curiosity and enhances our discernment as consumers and users of knowledge. It affects students' academic life too. Doing well on assessments depends on understanding the attributes and purposes of different questions, as much as knowing the answers. So how does learning how to ask better questions specifically relate to transition and life skills? Often, when people ask questions, they learn something new. And therefore, students learn to ask better questions, they become lifelong learners. Also, because of the amount of time it takes to experience something, and oftentimes students and people don't have enough time to experience everything, the amount of time to learn is decreased because you can learn from other people's experiences if you ask the right questions. When students learn to ask better questions, they understand their responsibilities. This helps them to do a better job in their place of employment and also in school or a class. Another reason for students to learn to ask better questions is for them to understand their role as a friend, on a team, in certain situations, even in their family structure. Learning to ask better questions promotes leadership skills, and it also helps with understanding challenges. Therefore, they come up with better solutions, which is problem solving. Asking better questions also promotes better communication. There's less misunderstandings or assuming. And lastly, asking better questions helps with remembering. In this next section of the video, we are going to discuss different strategies to help students not only ask more questions, but ask better questions. One of the resources I found as I was doing research on this topic was a website from a professor and author named John Spencer, who has great information including books and articles to help teachers and students. The strategies we will discuss here are taken from the article on his website called How to Help Students Ask Better Questions by Creating a Culture of Inquiry. A link to this resource will also be provided in the bonus for this Transition Tuesday. In his article, he first talks about that educators need to teach students to question everything, respectfully, of course. Every lesson should include students asking questions to you as the teacher, to one another, or to themselves. This enhances the learning process. His second strategy is to launch a Wonder Week, which is perfect for transition, except for it needs to be a Wonder Year or years. I'll explain that in a minute. In this strategy, students chase their own curiosity and engage in research to find the answers. In the end, they share their learning through a multimedia presentation. Now back to transition, why this fits in perfectly. Students need to research and look at what they want to do as adults for employment, for independent living, and for training and education. There is no better way to help the student design a transition plan than to have them ask themselves questions related to their future. Here's an example of what I mean. You can ask the student what they want to do for employment as an adult, but they need to ask and answer the why, which is the research and often leads to them asking themselves better questions to find out even more about themselves, which in turn helps them to advocate for themselves, become more independent, and lead their own transition process. The next strategy is to always give feedback on questions, not just feedback from you as the teacher, but have other students give feedback to the student on their questions. Sometimes this can be difficult in the beginning, but when questions are being analyzed, students learn that critical feedback is helpful. They begin to critique each other in a way that is helpful and positive. Another strategy is to model the process, which we do often in special education. You can do this during read alouds as well as class discussions. You can model this as a problem-solving strategy. An example of modeling the process is that you could ask a bad question and then follow it up by asking your students, why was this question awful? Or when a student asks a great question, you can say, why was that a hard question to answer? Or why did it make the class think deeper? The goal is to get the students engaged in metacognition. Another thing that is always good when you're trying to teach students something new is to practice it often and to provide support, as we often do as transition teachers for students with special needs. Some students have a really hard time with questioning strategies. Therefore, they need to be provided scaffolding in order to increase this skill. Other strategies from this article include explaining and modeling the different types of questions. The idea here is to teach students about clarifying critical thinking and inferencing questioning. It helps students to have a general framework of the types of questions that exist. Also, use multiple grouping options. Encourage students to ask questions of their teacher, of their partners, in their small groups, and of themselves. Another strategy that I felt was helpful is to follow rabbit trails. This means seize the moment of excited curiosity. When you let the students chase their curiosity in the moment, they end up asking better questions and learning more in the process. And lastly, reduce the fear. Oftentimes students say, I don't know what to ask. And really, they're just afraid of sounding stupid. If you let them know that there are no stupid questions, that helps. And also admitting that you don't know all the answers. So you might say something like, I don't know, let's find out. When this happens, students realize that they have the permission to ask questions and admit that they don't have all the answers. As a closing thought, the question we have to ask ourselves as educators is, if we don't teach our students to continuously ask questions and then better questions as they grow, are we helping our students to be lifelong learners? For today's bonus, I'll be sending you information and resources for teaching students how to ask better questions. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you use this information to help your students to ask better questions to help them get involved in their transition process. Be sure to check your email for the bonus we just sent over. If this is the first time you've ever seen an episode of Transition Tuesday, click the link below to receive the bonus. Be sure to like and share the video and leave a comment or suggestion for a future episode of Transition Tuesday. And make sure you subscribe to our Transition Tuesday channel. Thank you and have a great week. See you next Tuesday.